Hey, it's Dr. Devin Miles. Let's talk about inflammation a little bit. A lot of people are looking to reduce inflammation through supplementation, through herbs. As a doctor, I look for the triggers for the inflammation. Where is it coming from in the first place? So while I might use something like turmeric or fish oil, I'm going much deeper than that. So I work with people oftentimes with digestive disorders, or even if it's not something that's fully diagnosed, that person knows that their digestive system is not functioning the way it should be. So they're bloated all the time, they're constipated, a lot of gas, a lot of heartburn, things like that. A couple ways that I work with them is through testing, and I test for their food sensitivities. So if you're eating something that your body is sensitive to, that is a source of inflammation. So that's different from a food allergy. Food allergy is considered what's called IgE. So I go beyond that and I test IgG. So IgG is a form that is more of a delayed onset hypersensitivity, whereas IgE, which you would get tested with the allergist, is considered type 1 immediate hypersensitivity. So the type that break you out in hives, you need an EpiPen, your throat might close, things like that. The IgG is one that you may experience an immediate symptom, or it may come a few days later, but it's typically not life-threatening, where immediately you need help. And it's something that can promote chronic illness, aggravate chronic illness. Whatever symptoms you're having, it can aggravate them. So if you're eating those food sensitivities, that can create inflammation. Also, if you are experiencing imbalances within the intestinal tract, within the intestinal gut flora, so if you have overgrowth of bad bacteria or you have overgrowth of yeast, which a lot of times we think about yeast, we think about vaginal yeast infections, but you can have an overgrowth of yeast within the intestinal tract. Or, on the opposite end, there is a lack of growth of the good bacteria. So a probiotic can be helpful in that regard. But at the same time, there are situations where you can be taking a lot of probiotics and none of it is sticking. None of it's actually sitting there and repopulating itself. So then we also can get into why is that happening. So then we're looking at the terrain of the intestinal tract, the structure of it. What is not working as well anymore? So within your digestive tract, within the small intestines, you have villi, and they kind of look like little fingers. And if they are stunted or more separate than they are supposed to be, you may not be digesting your food as well as you could. And when that happens, then you have food particles leaking out into the bloodstream from the intestines in a form that is not recognizable by the body. So the body attacks that, and you get a cascade of reactions that contribute to inflammation. And then that's how you can develop food sensitivities. So it's about looking at the food sensitivities, taking those out of your diet for an extended period of time, and then through healing the digestive tract, addressing the flora, addressing the terrain of the intestinal tract, over time those foods can start to come back into your diet. Some of them you may not ever be able to tolerate those, and you may have never tolerated them in the first place, but it got to a point where eventually you started to see symptoms. So it's reducing the food sensitivities, adjusting the terrain of the intestinal tract, and improving the gut flora. All three of these help to reduce inflammation. So in the interim, while that process is happening, I may give you something to also help reduce, directly reduce the inflammation. But a lot of people think when you take those things, then you can just eat whatever you want. And a lot of times, what I've noticed over time is that basically you're doing this. You're not going to get as far as you can with that herb, with that supplement, if you're always pounding it back with bad food, bad lifestyle, and all these things. That is why a lot of times things are called supplements. They are supplementing what you're doing on this side. So keep that in mind. It's not just about what you take, it's also about what you don't take, and what are you doing to improve and address the actual causes of the inflammation itself. So if you ever need any help with that, feel free to give me a call. I would love to help you.